Hello everyone, I'm Drachona. So I originally clicked on this video out of curiosity. I really wanted to see what Michael Eric Dyson would say and how Jordan Peterson would likely obliterate his points. However, what I didn't anticipate was this woman. This is Michelle Goldberg, who is described as an American blogger and author and has written for The Daily Beast, Slate, and The New York Times. So she's a journalist, and she describes herself as such in the video.
So I'm a journalist.
Now, before I lay into this, if you want to watch the entire debate, it's the Munk debate. It's Jordan Peterson and Stephen Fry versus Michael Eric Dyson and Michelle Goldberg. There are a few different places you can watch the whole thing. The first that I found was actually on Jordan Peterson's channel, and the link for that is in the description. So let's go through what Michelle actually says. This is right after Jordan Peterson spoke, and spoiler alert, she doesn't address anything that he actually said. He was talking about white privilege, and she starts talking about the radical left versus the radical right. Apparently, this was more of a response to what Stephen Fry said. But enough description. Let's get right into it.
Do you mind if I answer, Stephen? I will answer you, but I just want to answer Stephen Fry first, because you talked about, this is how we got Trump, and this is the failure of the left. And so I'm a journalist. I went to a ton of Trump rallies during the campaign in different parts of the country, and you're right. Everywhere I went, I heard complaints about political correctness, far more than I heard complaints about, say, NAFTA. But when you asked people what they meant by political correctness, they called a woman they worked with girl, and she got mad at them. And, they could, you couldn't in public wonder aloud whether the president of the United States was really a Muslim. They didn't like that they couldn't make gay jokes anymore.
Okay, I'm absolutely certain that there are people who think this way. I mean, I've seen them, like, on television. I haven't met many people who think this, but I'm just certain that they exist. But you're being pretty dishonest here. You're implying that the only people who have a problem with political correctness, or at least the only people who are also Trump supporters, complain about these kinds of things. If you hear someone who makes these kind of complaints, just ignore them. They're morons. But you make it sound like there aren't any valid criticisms of political correctness or the far left coming from the right. I mean, let's not even address the valid criticisms that come from the left or come from the center. Let's just sidestep those entirely. But you're pretty much dismissing this entire issue of political correctness being a problem by pointing to a few random examples of people who you know aren't the kind of people that you should be debating. It's important to understand what the average person thinks, what these random Trump supporters think, but do you really believe that these examples reflect a significant percentage of the people in this country? Like the millions of people who voted for Trump? Really?
And so on the one hand, you're right, and I've written about this. I think that when you try to, that when people have these prejudices and you try to suppress them, it can create a kind of dangerous counter-reaction.
Yes, that's true, but you know what can also lead to a dangerous counter-reaction? Attacking the far right every time they show their faces. Not only showing that you take them seriously, but giving them fuel for their victim narrative. Hashtag punch a Nazi.
But I also think that, what they were reacting to, again, to go back to the title of this debate, what they called political correctness, the fact that they had to have this urbane black president who they felt talked down to them, which is really what they meant. I don't see a way around that, because that is, like I said, that's progress. So to go to the question of when the left goes too far, I mean, to me, it's pretty easy. Violence and censorship, right? I'm against violence, and I'm against censorship. But I also, looking around the world right now.
Notice how she brings up censorship and then immediately sidesteps the issue? Yeah, let's not talk about all the times that leftists have protested someone they disagree with speaking on a college campus or at a specific venue. Let's not talk about deplatforming campaigns. Let's not talk about people who think that people they disagree with don't even have the right to speak unopposed. No, let's just ignore that. And there's actually a reason why we're not talking about that, and we're about to get to it.
But I also looking around the world right now, when the idea that there is this, I understand again that there is like a problem of kind of left-wing annoyance, right? There's a lot of things that kind of people, random people on the internet in particular, are able to swarm individuals and turn kind of stray remarks into social media campaigns, and this is often conflated with political correctness, and it's a bad phenomenon. I wish there was a way to put an end to it. I don't think there is no way to put an end to it simply by having kind of reasonable liberals or reasonable socialists denounce it, because it's just a kind of awful phenomenon of modern life. And if you want to have a debate about whether social media is terrible for democracy, I will be on the yay side.
Did you notice what she did there? She said,
I understand again that there is like a problem of kind of left-wing annoyance.
Already downplaying what the far left is doing, and then she goes on to say,
right, there's a lot of things that kind of people, random people on the internet in particular.
And then she exclusively talks about people on the internet. She doesn't talk at all about what far leftists have done in the real world. She very slyly implies that the far left is only really a problem online. This is in 2018 that someone is saying this. We have countless examples of the far left doing things in real life, just countless videos over at least the past 3 years. Not only is she downplaying the far left, she's completely ignoring things like the Halloween costume scandal at Yale, the campus protests sparked by the Mizzou protests, the Zarna Joshi humongous incident, all the protests and riots by far-left activists, BAM, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, Resist, the Uhuru movement, the various anarcho-insert-something-hereists, again, all the protests against speaking events by people they disagree with, the takeover of Evergreen State College. All those things happened in real life, and these are just some of the examples. Even if we wanted to have a conversation exclusively about the internet, what about people like you, Miss Goldberg, leftist journalists who have done nothing but spew out ridiculous propaganda in hit pieces like the one we just saw for Jordan Peterson? Jesus fucking Christ, are you kidding me right now? How is it possible to be so willfully ignorant? How is this not delusion? How is this not mental illness? Oh, but wait, it gets better.
But right now, where I really disagree, well, there's a couple places I really disagree.
Pick one and then I'm going to go to Michael.
But the idea that the radical left poses a greater threat than the radical right, when you see actual fascism ascendant all over the world, strikes me as something that you can literally only believe if you spend your life on college campuses. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could get mad. I could just explode into disbelief that you actually believe that neo-Nazis have any kind of real power anywhere. You aren't even arguing that the right has more power, or the far right. You've narrowed it down exclusively to neo-Nazis. And you said that they are ascendant all over the world. Let me just ask you one question. Can you point to 3 countries, just 3, where there is a significant number of neo-Nazis? I'm not even talking like 50% of the population. Let's just say, can you point to 3 countries where neo-Nazis either make up at least 15% of the population or have at least 15% of the governing power? That's not even a lot. That's still pretty insignificant, but I'm trying to throw you a bone here. Polls have suggested that 22 to 30 million Americans either support neo-Nazis or, quote, think it's okay to hold white supremacist or neo-Nazi views. That doesn't even mean that these people are neo-Nazis, just that they don't disagree with them. So let's go with the 30 million estimate, again, just to throw you a bone. That's 9% of the US population. That's less than half the percentage of non-religious people in the U.S. Hell, that's less than the percentage of black or Hispanic people in the U.S. Even if you look anywhere else in the world, the only significant populations of neo-Nazis exist pretty much exclusively in Europe. You don't find many in Africa, the Middle East, South and East Asia, or South and Central America. Even then, go and look for yourself. The number of neo-Nazis in most places is measured in thousands. Not millions, thousands. The fact that you think Western liberal democracies have a real problem with neo-Nazis is just laughable. In countries where you have multiple black film festivals, or where your prime minister is a declared feminist, or where you can be punished for making a joke online, we definitely have a problem with authoritarianism in the West, but it's not coming from the fucking right. And look, if neo-Nazis ever gain a significant amount of power in this country, then I will definitely do something about it. I will oppose it. Right now, I see no reason why the other 300 million of us shouldn't just laugh in their faces. They don't deserve to be taken seriously. They deserve to fade into oblivion. And you are actively preventing that from happening. You are fueling their fire. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'd like to thank Philosophy Insights for posting this clip. The link to that is in the description. It's definitely interesting to watch Michael Eric Dyson say things that are on the verge of nonsense, and then watch Jordan Peterson address his statements with a level of professionalism and reason that Dyson just completely lacks. Anyway, I'm Drachona, and have a nice day. Did you notice what she did there? She said... That's not what she said, but that's what she said. No. That's definitely not what she said.